morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It is 9 a.m. on Thursday, the 13th of April. Not quite sure where this year is going, but apparently we're in April already. Hope you're all doing well. I realise last week, for anyone that kind of tuned in, I was a bit naughty. I teased it as a wildcard. I didn't end up wildcarding. We'll talk about whether I regret it or not in a second. But I do appreciate that was a little bit misleading. Well, I can confirm this week I have played the chip. It has already been used. I have made 10 changes, I think, to my team. It's a little bit different to last week's one I presented as well. So I've been interested to see how that kind of gets on after delaying it for a week, because I think I could have used it last week and I worked out I would have been about sort of 13, 14 points better off. So I'm hoping that, I haven't dilly-dallied too much and I can still, get the points that I would have made on that and some more. So that is probably going to be the focus of today's show. They call it a show, episode, stream, whatever you want to call it, podcast, wherever you're listening. Thanks for tuning in and checking it out. Hello to Ian Evans from sunny Brentwood in Essex, where I was born and raised. Excellent, not only to have a fellow Essex boy in the chat, but more importantly, a fellow Brentwood boy as well. So hi to Ian. Hi to Mena Suvalaki, who just says Ake. Yeah, he's on the thumb. He is in the wildcard draft as well. After talking up Stones for so long, it's a little bit cheaper, which is the main reason. Aidan Hall. Hi from Sarasota. It's 4 a.m. Wow. I mean, that is dedication. I'm tired enough at 9 a.m., let alone you watching this at 4 a.m. Go to sleep. I don't know if this is going to be worth it for you, but thanks for tuning in. And hi to Damien Brains. Damien Brains, we've been through this many times. We decided on Brains and we decided it's your name. Wildcard time. Yeah, absolutely. He's watching from South Africa. So hi to all of you guys in the chat. Hope you all had good weeks in Game Week 30. As you can tell, I got a red arrow. Let's have a look at my team and how I got on. So I got 56 points. It was a small red. I think I dropped from about 217,000 to 222,000. So it was a bit of a nothing game week, a bit disappointed with, quite a few of these guys, really. Kepa and Chilwell, double Chelsea defence, losing to Wolves, 3 points between them. Chilwell benched as well, giving kind of owners a bit of a headache, with their players. Trippier with 2, loses the clean sheet. Everyone's got him, doesn't really matter. Had a dilemma who to play, Zinchenko or Henry. Went with Zinchenko to kind of cover in case Arsenal just won that game comfortably, even though I kind of thought Liverpool would put up a fight in that. I actually had them to win it in the black box predictions, and they could easily have done. They had so many chances in that game. But Henry gets an assist. Typical, and a bonus point, and Zinchenko gets 1. So once again, another kind of 50-50 call. Doesn't pay off for me. So really poor in defence, 3-2-0-1. Quite a lot of money in defence as well. Chilwell's taken up quite a bit. Zinchenko at 5, Trippier as well. So yeah, there's been a bit of a reshuffle in the wildcard with those. I think there's only one survivor actually out of all 6 of my kind of defence and goalkeeper. 7 if you include the subkeeper as well. Salah missing a penalty again, really frustrating. I had him when everyone had sold him and he missed that pen after his big haul against United. I've kept him again now, and now people are moving to him, but he was a bit of a differential for me. I think he was about 30% effective ownership or something around my rank, so his points were big for me this week. And he misses a penalty. Of course, it's not just worth the -2. It's worth the 5 points he would have got from scoring the penalty, the potential bonus as well. So it's, a 9-10 point swing, really, for a missed pen for Salah. So, that's 20 points in theory from missing those 2 penalties. Just really frustrating. I do wonder if he'll keep them. I chatted about this to Luke last night on Black Box. We're both of the opinion he probably keeps them. But again, we wouldn't be too surprised if he was to lose them. It's just who would take over from him. Fabinho, Luke suggested. Nunes has got a decent record if he's on the pitch. Could be one of those. Milner, obviously, if he's playing. has got a great record. So I think he keeps them. He's got to practice them. That's 2 poor penalties for him now. But, I think we're going to start seeing quite a lot of investment in him, given they've got good games coming up. Leeds next, Forest in 32, for those not on a free hit, and then a double coming up in 34. Rashford with 6. That has been kind of the big, decision that a lot of people are having to make this week. Bit of a vague update from Ten Hag. He's going to miss a few games. Well, if he just misses 2, if he misses the Europa League game tonight and the game at the weekend, he hasn't got a game in 32 anyway because of the blank in the FA Cup. So he could be back for 33. That's best case scenario. It doesn't look likely from what I've seen since, from reading comments on the Man United page, from seeing a few kind of rumours on Twitter. I think he's going to be lucky to get back in time for game week 34. If he is back in time for 34, does he, do we have to move for him straight away and bring him straight back? How are United going to get on kind of in his absence? Lots of question marks there. For me, he's a sell. I think there's plenty of good midfield options that we don't want to be carrying a kind of injured player in our team for weeks, losing value on him, losing out on the likes of Grealish, on Saka, or on Martinelli. There's plenty of good midfielders that we can go for. So he's a sell for me, and he's gone on my wildcard. Obviously, I have got a contingency to bring him back though, because if he is fit and ready to go for that double, I don't really want to be without him. So that's the caveat. He's a sell, but think about ways in which maybe you can look to bring him back if you need to. Maddison with 2. Really, really poor. I mean, poor doesn't even begin to cover it. I mean, I sell Saka for Maddison. Saka's got Leeds at home. That looks like a great fixture. And then Liverpool away. I sell him for a hit for Maddison, who's got a double game week, Palace and Villa, and then a home game against Bournemouth. Perfect start. Saka doesn't even start against Leeds. Comes off the bench. Maddison blanks in that first game. Okay, it's fine. He's still got 2 games compared to Saka's 1, and it's against Liverpool away. And then Maddison blanks twice again. So does Saka. Luckily enough, they end up bang on points, including the hit. So absolute waste of transfer. Completely pointless. There's other moves I could have done. I could have done Zinchenko to Zuma, for example. And that is kind of what I talked about on that stream, prioritising defenders. But of course, I go against my own advice because I get excited about someone like Maddison, and it doesn't pay off. So yeah, really disappointing with him. Dean Smith is in with John Terry and Craig Shakespeare. It's kind of the management team of nightmares, I think. And I can't see Leicester, doing particularly well between now and the end of the season. So he's a sell for me as well. And again, he's gone on the wild card. I played Matoma. I'm not going to vent again about Brighton and what happened in that match. I will just say that I was incredibly disappointed with the officiating in that game. It was a clear penalty from Højbjerg on Matoma. I think the handball McAllister was incredibly harsh. The handball from Matoma, I can see why that was given, but it was just decision after decision after decision. Even the pullback on Dunk, 4 decisions going against us in one game, hurts a lot in such a crucial game as well. And obviously we've had the apology from them as well. But fantasy-wise, I mean, Matoma getting 2 points in that game is scandalous, really. And I'm very hopeful of him in the next game against Chelsea. Haaland, I brought in Haaland for Kane. It did pay off in the end. It was pretty much the only way I could move for Haaland. So, I'm not disappointed with the outcome. I obviously captained him as well. I wouldn't have captained Kane against Brighton, so I probably would have gone for Rashford and lost out. So it was a good move in the end. Watkins scoring again, and Tony, I mean, a missed penalty. And, it's just one of those things in FPL where the amount of people that sold him, he became a differential for me. And, when you've got a player like Tony, who's been so highly owned, been playing so well, and they become a differential, and you can finally cheer them on, what you cannot have is them missing a penalty in the game after everyone sells them, and you've kept them. It was just so frustrating. Again, 2 missed penalties in my team. So this is a very moany stream, and I apologise. It will get better when I talk about the wild card. But, 2 missed pens, Matoma's lack of points. Maddison blanking the wrong defender. It was a small red, but it felt like a big one. So I'll happy move on to the next game week. On my bench, Steele McAllister, benched him. He got 2 as well. Again, should have had the penalty. Henry with 5, an assist, rare for him. And I've been playing him every week. So again, finally get some attacking returns and I haven't played him. And then Botman with the 1. So I just looked at this team and, I looked at the kind of, the problems I've had. And sometimes, like last week, the Wildcard looked good, but, I believed in these players. Maddison at home to Bournemouth, I thought he can get something in that. I liked the fact that I could move for Haaland. I liked the front line with Tony becoming a differential against his old club. It kind of didn't feel completely right to do it. Whereas this week, I look at this team and I just think, get rid of the lot of them. So that's what I've done. Wholesale changes, which I'll come on to in a sec. Oh, Janny's in the chat with a small violin. Thanks, Jenny. Appreciate that. Not that I'm listening to you moan every bloody week on the Jenny team selection. I think you can indulge me 1 week of complaining. S. Hawes feels my pain. Had Tony and Salamis like myself. Yeah, it hurts. Doesn't it? Aidan Hall, has Maddison shown he doesn't have the mental strength to play for a top side? I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, there's only so much a player can do when they're carrying a struggling side in the way they have. I mean, if he's not getting the ball and he's not kind of, dictating the play like he'd like to because the players around him aren't putting in the effort or the work or don't have the confidence to finish the chances, then, there's only so much he can do. I mean, it was a terrible back pass that he did for the game and he looked absolutely kind of distraught after that, but I still think he's an absolutely class player. So I don't think his ability to play in any side is in question. I think he could go to Arsenal, I think he could go to Newcastle, and do a great job there, either from a deep lying role or somewhere more advanced. So no, I'm not losing faith in Maddison as an option, football-wise, but I just think Leicester are a team just to dodge at all costs. So I would be getting rid of him if I can. Pete, as what happens when your team value through a free hit week? Got game week 33 transfers planned, really tight and worried about Rashford dropping in that time. You will continue to gain or lose value on your original team when you free hit. So, if you free hit, if you've got Rashford in your team and you free hit Rashford out, you will still lose value on Rashford if he goes up or down in that week. So if you're worried about losing value on him, you probably need to sell him. That's the only kind of answer to that. So when your team comes back, it'll be updated with the new values, essentially. As well, I'm going to move on to my wildcard team then. The big reveal. Here it is. I think this is almost certainly what I'm going to be going for. I can't see many changes that I'm going to make in this team. So it's De Gea in goal with Everson as a non-playing sub, hopefully every week. Hopefully I won't need to call on him. There's 2 goalkeepers here, which I think you could consider. I think there's De Gea and Ederson. Steele is an option as well. I just think if you're going to be going with Brighton players, you want to kind of get the best Brighton players you can. And I think Estepinian or a Dunk is probably preferable to Steele when you've got De Gea with the extra games too. The reason why I go against Ederson is because I like those City defenders. I like Ake and I like Stones as well. I have got Martinez in this side from United, Manchester United that is, but not totally sold on that position. That position is just there because I need the 4.5 defender. I much prefer the De Gea and Ake double up than if you went Ederson and Martinez, for example. So that's why I've gone for those 2. Trippier stays. He's not going anywhere. He's too good. And then it's Ake, it's Martinez, it's Dunk, Lewis Dunk. I've gone for him just for the security of starts, really. Brighton have got a lot of games coming up as well. He has scored now as well. He's had a poor season, sort of goal-scoring wise. Oh, my dog's come to say hello. Let's bring him up. He wants to see my wildcard team. Clearly, there he is. And I've gone for Alex Moreno as well, who's a player that I've been watching for quite a while. I'm thinking he looks like a really fun kind of FPL pick, very attacking. Looks to have locked down that spot over Dean as well. Villa playing really, really well. Numbers looking decent as well, as I'll show kind of in a second. So that's the kind of back 5 that I've gone with. I mean, there's no Chilwell in this. There's no James. There's no Trent, who's looking good on kind of the analytics models as well in time for 34. It's a cheaper defence, essentially. But that allows some of the other players that I'm going to come to in a second. So in midfield, Salah stays. Doesn't deserve it, but he's still in there Anyway, Matoma stays as well, but then it's changes abound. Martinelli comes back in to give me an Arsenal mid, which I didn't have. Grealish comes in, already risen twice this week. Looks a great option against Leicester. Some kind of uncertainty about whether he's going to start this game, what team is City going to put out, given it's sandwiched in between these Bayern Munich games. It's a comprehensive win for them against Bayern, 3-0. There's no one that could really play on the left for instead of Grealish. I think he starts this one, and kind of minutes get managed. Don't forget there's 5 subs as well. So I think Grealish plays, and they really put Leicester to the sword. Matoma stays, obviously, but then I have actually taken McAllister out for March. Now, March is a little bit cheaper than McAllister. That was one of the reasons why I did it. But I think McAllister, we are seeing him now dropping back potentially into this slightly deeper role to allow Brighton a bit more control. So I think March with the corners as well is he's still got some of the set pieces too. Matoma's going to be the one that I play most weeks, apart from the double game weeks. And I think there's not much in it between March and McAllister. So I've gone for March. My dad will be happy because he's been bagging on about me buying March for months. He's his favourite Brighton player. So there you go, Dad. He's in the side, although he's benched, which probably means he'll score this week. And then up front, Haaland obviously stays, Watkins stays, and I've got the money to bring Kane back in, who I took out last week. It felt a bit uneasy taking him out ahead of a home game against Bournemouth, so he's back. 2 reasons why I wanted to bring Kane back. One, obviously for this Bournemouth game, and to give me the 3 kind of premium options, which I don't think many people are going to have. And secondly, it allows me to move down to the likes of Darwin, for the double game week, or basically any striker that I want, and then upgrade one of the defenders potentially to a Liverpool asset in the 34, like I'll talk about in a bit. There's also 0.7 million in the bank with this team. That allows me to do Martinelli back to Rashford if he makes a miraculous recovery over the next few weeks, and I want him in for the double game week. So that is the thinking behind the wildcard. One thing that was useful when I was doing the planning for this was I was originally having De Gea and Steele, because I thought they're the 2 goalkeepers with the most kind of money, most potential with the 2 double game weeks. But don't forget, you can't play them both. And I kind of forgot about that until I used Peter's excellent FPL team, and I got to game week 34, and I was like, oh, that's one less Brighton player that I'm going to have in my side now. So again, it's always worth using FPL team to plan your transfers going forward. And if you're going to go for De Gea, for example, and you've got Steele, just bear in mind you won't be able to play both of those, and you'll probably be missing out on a Brighton defender in that match, which won't be ideal because I've got 2 good games in that double game week. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Gianni, can't argue with that wild card. I'll learn the same City 3 this week. We have a benching dilemma each week with your 8th attacker. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't really mind benching dilemmas. I mean, it was a bit frustrating when you get it wrong, but I'd rather have options in the team. I mean, people are seeing already with their benches, with Rashford, with Maddison, stat benches from the bench boost are coming in useful kind of already. I don't think my bench is stacked in terms of money. It doesn't feel like I'm, losing value or losing out elsewhere. It just feels like I've got options in case I need them kind of going forward. So, no, I don't really mind that. Matoma will just be the Brighton player that I play every week if I have to choose, because I think he's our best asset. If March gets big returns, then so be it. That's just kind of part of the game. So yeah, not too worried about that. Martin Stensby, is it possible to get a negative team value after a free hit? How will that get sorted? A negative team value? I mean, like I said, you can lose value on your team. You can't get a negative team value. You're not going to drop below 0, are you? So, not too sure what you mean by that. But yeah, the price drops that you lose over the free hit will affect your main team. So yeah, do bet that in mind. On a wildcard, yet your striker is playing your defender. Bizarre. Well, I think both teams probably score in this, and I wouldn't back against Trippier. I mean, I could play Moreno, for example, and hope for a Villa win to 0, but I think Newcastle probably score in that game. And then Trippier's got the set piece threat. That's what we're kind of paying all the money for. The thing with Trippier is that the bonus point potential is just so high. If Newcastle do get a clean sheet, in that game. Okay, Watkins banks, but everyone's got him. But then Trippier ends up with 9, or maybe even more if he's got the assist. So he's a very risky player to bench, and I don't think the potential of the other players really outweighs it. I could bring in Martinez, for example, but his ceiling's probably capped at 6. You never know with Forest as well; they could nick a goal. Moreno is interesting. I could potentially do that. I think he's got more of an attacking threat, but I think it would be risky to bench Trippier given how he's playing and how Newcastle are playing. So it's a bit of a cover with that one. But I've got plenty of other players in the team that can rise me up the ranks. Frostbolter, is that Moreno, the Bruno G of 2023? I hope so. I don't think I'll be captaining him though, like I did Bruno in that double game week. So yeah, it'd be great if he can get a return. But I think I'm only going to be playing him once, Moreno, between now and the end of the season. So the haul he gets has to come in that week, or I'm going to look a bit stupid. One other question. What was the point of such a late wildcard if you go for a similar template by 1 to 2 picks? Got to go for picks like Trent or Darwin. I mean, you haven't really. I mean, I'm going to be free hitting in 32 anyway. I've got ways of getting Darwin and Trent in 34, like I'm going to discuss in a minute. I think it's... I mean, the teams are similar because there's a similar pool of players, right? When I wildcarded, I thought this might happen, but I thought options might emerge, and I think a few have. I think Grealish wasn't an option back then. I think Ake wasn't really an option back then. I've switched out 2 of my Brighton players because I think Duncan and March are better than Steele and McAllister. I've got the 3 premiums, which I'm not seeing in many teams. I'm seeing a lot of people, having to sell Kane for Haaland. Or if they've sold Tony, now they're looking at ways of getting Salah back in as well. There's problems people have got with Rashford, with Maddison, with some of their defenders as well, with Shaw, for example. So, I think the wild card was very effective for people a few weeks ago, and fair play to that. It's probably worth about 30 points, at least. I don't think, from where my team is, I didn't do terribly. I'm still around the 200k mark, and I think with this team, I can hopefully push on into the 100k, which was the target. So I don't think it's a waste, and I'm not going to bring in players just for the sake of it. I think there's not going to be many teams that look like this at this stage because people have issues to deal with, and people are going to be taking hits. There's going to be free hits in 32, including my own, which can hopefully get us ahead, and people not able to do that. People having to bring in Crystal Palace players, for example, or other players, just to kind of get players in, and then they're stuck with those. There's plenty of potential between now and the end of the season. So having a what I think is a good settled side between now and the end of the season, with some of the top teams and targeting those doubles, getting a strong team out in 34, I think should see me end the season quite strongly, in theory. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. This is how I'm looking for 34 at the moment. So this kind of strategy would give me 11 doublers. This is assuming Rashford is out. The 34 double game week would look something like De Gea, Martinez, Ake, Dunk, Trent, Salah, Grealish, Matoma, March, Haaland, and Darwin. Look at that bench: Martinelli, Trippier, and Watkins. So that would be Kane down to Darwin, and then I think there's Moreno up to Trent, for example. So it's 3 Liverpool, 3 City, 3 Brighton, 2 United. Strong team, I think, for that double game week. So looking forward to all of those players. Disappointing. Watchlist time. This is updated ahead of 31 and updated with the new kind of players. So you see in blue, this is kind of the players with the kind of the top stats in terms of non-penalty XGI per 90. In defence, we have Chilwell. In midfield, we have De Bruyne. And forwards, we have Jesus. This is since the restart. In green, these are the players that I've got in my own side. And then in the kind of dark grey, players that I'm kind of considering. You can see there isn't that many dark grey players, which I think kind of reflects the kind of lack of choice really we have in some ways. Obviously, I don't have Chilwell. I think he could hit a big haul. Red card last night pretty much cements his start over the next few weeks as well. Although unless Lampard wants to be a bit annoyed and make a bit of an example of him, but I don't think he can because he needs to rest some players ahead of that Madrid game. Doesn't make sense for him to play. For someone else to play. So I think Chilwell starts, and obviously got some good games on the horizon. I think it's Bournemouth and someone else. Forest, is it maybe? So I won't be having him likely for those games, which will be a bit of a concern. Trent's on here. 0.8 sharp 90 of 0.31 is really low for him since the restart. But playing in this kind of new inverted midfield fullback role, be interesting to see what that kind of does for his output. He looked very attacking against Arsenal and got the assist, so we'll keep monitoring that. I've got Reece James in here as well. I think it's very unlikely I'm going to own Reece James between now and the end of the season. With Chilwell kind of around the same price, he will probably be the one I'd go back to if I was looking to get one. Zinchenko, he's 5.2 now. He is quite pricey. Is he worth kind of that 0.4 extra over White? Am I going to want an Arsenal defender down the season? Probably not. But he has been good for me since I had him. So he is remaining on the watch list for now. Botman is on there too, in case I want to go back to that double Newcastle. But I mean, you can look at some of the players I bought in. I mean, Dunk, 0.x upper 90, 0.09, almost no attacking threat from him. Martinez, the same, almost no attacking threat from him. Ake, 0.14, surprising given we've seen him rolling forward in that Bayern game, and we've seen him score the goals for the Netherlands as well. Moreno, 0.19, that's improved lately. He's in and around the 0.3 mark. But, again, the defenders this season haven't had the attacking stats that we've kind of grown accustomed to. So I think any attacking returns you get from defenders, aside from Chilwell and Trippier looking at this, and maybe Trent, are quite lucky, really. Dunk is always going to be a threat at set piece. I know he hasn't got many goals, but he's tall, he's good in the air. We've got good crosses of the ball coming in from corners. So even though we don't really seem to be targeting him, I still think there's a chance that he can get something. Martinez maybe a little bit less so. In midfield, De Bruyne is the top, as I mentioned. Salah, 0.66, is next. Obviously, I've still got him in play. March's stats remain really good, ahead of the likes of McAllister and Matoma, although Matoma's soaring up these stats over the last 6 game weeks. Again, just adds to my opinion that I think he's the best option out of the 3. Martinelli has been absolutely incredible, 0.61 when you consider his price as well, 6.6, and you consider the amount of goals that he's got. I believe he's top of the midfield standings as well. Just been absolutely incredible. I mean, the difference between him, Odegaard and Saka looks really, really hard to predict. Saka's got the pens, Martinelli's got this kind of incredible ability just to find ways of getting goals and assists. Odegaard, who looked like the best option of the 3 kind of after the restart, has dropped down a little bit now. I mean, 84 points compared to 98 for Martinelli, 96. There's not a huge amount in it between them. But if you were picking, I think for me, it would be Martinelli top, then Saka, then Odegaard. Saka, 0.43, still decent and got the pens as well. But it's very hard to look past Martinelli. And of course, everyone sold him, didn't they? Because they thought he was going to be rotated. But there's no chance he's getting benched at the moment. And then up top, limited options, really. Jesus is top of the pile. He hasn't played a lot since the restart, so these numbers are a little bit inflated. But when he has played, he's looked really, really good. Núñez is in second, has missed the last couple of games. Maybe some concern around that. Hoping to see something good from him ahead of the double, because I think he's an exciting player to bring in ahead of that. 0.76. Haaland, 0.71. Got on him, no questions asked. If you don't own him, get him. He's breaking all kinds of records and will continue to do so. And I can't see many weeks in which we're not going to captain him. Ferguson remains on the list. I mean, Welbeck, when he's been playing well. I don't think Ferguson is one of the Brighton options that I'd consider, because you've got the 3 Brighton mids, Dunk, Estepinian and Steele. But he is, if you're looking to free up funds from forwards, to put more money in midfield or in defence, he's an okay option. Probably gets 1 in the double, I'd say. And then Watkins, and surprisingly Harry Kane, 0.49, bottom of this list. Only Mitoma and Saka are below him out of kind of all the kind of attacking options in my watch list, but has 96 points, which is bettered only by Rashford out of them all as well. Oh, and Martinelli too with 98. So he's getting points without the best stats, and that is very symbolic of Spurs in general. So that's where we're at. Does anyone have any questions before I finish? I've got another 5 minutes or so. Cameron Starr adds, hope you're well, struggling with illness. Mate, hope you feel better soon. Normally I'll be at work. Quick question, what would your differential pick be for this week? That's a great question. Let's have a little look through the fixtures. I always look at Southampton, who they're playing. Well, they're playing Palace. Who are Bournemouth playing? Well, they're playing Spurs. Who are kind of Forest playing? Well, they're playing United. Yeah, I mean, you could take a punt on one of the United players, maybe a Jadon Sancho, and hope that he's going to step up with Rashford out. I mean, that's a bit of an ask, depending on the lineups tonight potentially. I do think targeting Forest at the moment, given how they're playing. I know they're at home and they're very superior at home, but still, I think they're a team that are there for the taking at the moment. But I don't mind like Eze or Elise as well. If you buy one of those this week, you've got the Everton at home game as well. If you haven't got the free hit, and they've got Wolves and West Ham, so they've got a decent run of fixtures. So potentially one of those, or you could target one of the other Spurs players against Bournemouth, maybe a Son or a Kulusevski or something like that to think about. So yeah, interesting week this week. To give you an answer, I'll say go for Sancho. Why not? If you're looking for a pure 1 week punt against Forest, let's give it a punt on him. John OHD, Rashford replacement if you already have Grealish. Well, it's probably one of Martinelli or Saka, unless you've kind of got one of those already. Other than that, it is kind of fairly difficult. I mean, you've got the Brighton mids as well. If you haven't got one of those, you could grab another one of those. So one of Martinelli, Saka, one of McAllister, March, Matoma, Grealish, if you've got him already. I mean, Mahrez is a shout as well. You're almost certainly going to play in that game if you've got the extra money too. So yeah, they're kind of the options. They're quite boring, I'm afraid, but they're probably the ones that I'd be considering. Like I showed in the watch list, there's not a huge amount of options really kind of jumping out at me. Crypto FBL, when to play triple captain if you have the free hit? Well, it's going to be in 34, isn't it? On Haaland. Triple captain on Haaland in 34 with a double game week. Looks pretty good to me. I think that's probably quite an easy one. Or you save it for, a 37 when you've got double game weeks for United, for Brighton, potentially. But I think Haaland's the obvious choice, isn't he, in 34? Easy one. FPL Dream, what's your opinion on getting Martial? Yeah, I mean, he's a differential as well, isn't he? Ten Hag's been talking him up. He's going to probably get a run of games. I owned him after the restart. He seemed like a great option. United had got rid of Ronaldo. They didn't have any other strikers. I thought, here we go. This is Martial time. This is a genius move. He was absolutely awful. He's got, he's been injured for a while. He's not really performed when he's been in the team so much. I know Ten Hag says they play better with him, but I'm a little bit sceptical on that. I just think the striker options, with Watkins, with Kane, with Haaland, with Nunez as well, I'd put sort of someone like Isak or Wilson over him too. Martial would be quite far down, my list of targets. So he's not for me, essentially. But, if you want to go for him, you believe in him, then go for it. But I've been burned by him before, so I probably won't. I definitely won't be going there again. I think that's it from me for this week then. Thank you all for joining me. It's been fun. Enjoyed doing these streams. I'll be back next week. I'll let you know how the wildcards got on. But until then, good luck. Green arrows, hopefully, for everyone. And I will see you very soon.